The show title from Season 3, Episode 2 begins on the morning after what had happened in the previous episode, which was Boyd been trapped and with Jade and Victor helplessly sitting inside the sheriff's office, with a whole farm animal around them. Since the monsters had released all the animals from the barn on the previous night, after waiting the entire night for the day to break, Jade finally decides to go check on Boyd and Tian-Chen at the barn, and he is the first to see the terrible things the monster had done. However, just then he saw Boyd tied to a pole inside the barn as Boyd kept on murmuring something in a foreign language repeatedly. At the moment, Jade shockingly asks him what had happened, and Boyd states how the monsters had forced him to watch Tian-Chen being tortured. Meanwhile at the forest, Jim seems to find enough food which might eventually stop their hunger crisis in the town. The scene shifted to Tabitha, waking up from Victor's father's couch with his gun on his hand. But just then, he explained to Tabitha that she had passed out on his front porch. As soon as Tabitha requested that she leaves, he aimed his gun at her, asking her to seat back. As she showed up on his doorstep with the lunchbox of which his son had left home with a very long time ago. And now, Tabitha would have to explain how she found it. She began to explain how her family were traveling until they found a huge tree on the road and also found a town that nobody could leave. However, Victor's father didn't bring her to his house for this long story, so he demanded that she stops and explain to him straight on how she got hold of his son's lunchbox. She told him that Victor gave him the lunchbox and told him that Victor is alive, but he doesn't believe all she had said, so he is left with no other choice than to call the police. Tabitha pleaded to him not to involve the cops, as no one would believe her story when she is asked where her family were. Just then, Victor's father informed Tabitha that he had called the police 20 minutes ago, and now they just have to wait for their arrival. Tabitha then told him that she knows how to prove that she is not lying. At Fromville, Jade and Boyd take Tian-Chen's body back to the town and place it inside the church for the time being, since they want to give her a proper funeral service. Jade questioned Boyd about how he is still alive despite being with the monsters all through the night, but Boyd told him that the monsters wanted him to watch how they would torture her and to see his loved ones dying in front of him. Just then Donna confronts him, but was for a different matter, as she is too stressed and torn up about the situation. Meanwhile, Elthan is in tears about the death of Tian-Chen while Victor is fed up about the whole place that now he has decided to leave Fromville. Tabitha tried proving to Victor's father that it wasn't only his son who went missing and began to make research of all her friends from Fromville, and fortunately for her they were all declared missing a long time. At this point, Victor's father is now confused as he does not believe her or understand her because he does not know how she got out of Fromville. However, during their conversations, the cops knocked at his door and Tabitha begged him to dispose of them, which he eventually did so. Donna questions Boyd's decision to go after the animals so desperately, which essentially led to the terrible death of Tian-Chen's. According to her, it is much more important for the townsfolk to protect each other at all costs. But her heated mind does not make her think about the potentially violent condition that might arise in case of a food shortage. Boyd is furiously angry at her, suggesting that he actually had a choice in preventing the death of his dear friend, and Donna eventually realizes her mistake as well. Fatima Hassan has been growing sicker with every passing day due to her pregnancy, and her boyfriend, Ellis, continues to be extremely supportive. He checks up on her almost every time that she spends too long in the toilet at the colony house, but Fatima tries to dismiss his concerns. Although when Fatima sees a tooth come off loose from her mouth, she too is concerned about her health, and she agrees to go see Christy at the health center. Meanwhile, Christy goes to speak to Boyd and tries her best to convince him to not blame himself for the death of Tian-Chen. The two had a conversation about the time when Boyd had done the same for her earlier and encouraged her to keep her calm. While Christy tries to calm Boyd down, just then, Kenny arrived from his short trip and happily shows people the vegetables he and Jim had just harvested from the forest without any idea that his mother had just died after trying to avoid a food shortage. However, Kenny soon realizes something isn't right as he could not find his mom. He heads straight to her restaurant and began to cry. Christy also arrived, and she told him that his mom's body is now in the church. Ellis takes Fatima to the place where she will get examined, only to find that Christy is out, and so Fatima has to be checked by Mari, who assures the couple that her experience as a pediatric nurse has taught her a lot about pregnancy. All goes well, as Mari diagnoses Fatima to be suffering from morning sickness and from malnutrition and asks her to eat properly. Tabitha and Victor's father now had some mature conversations about his wife and his son as they both ate. He showed Tabitha his kid room and how he was devastated after the realization that his family were forever gone. He believes Tabitha would have not faked all those articles online and fully believed whatever story Tabitha had told him. Christy went into the church to dress Tian-Chen up for her funeral. Meanwhile, Ellis and Fatima got home, while Ellis leaves Fatima at the doorstep before going to meet with his father, Boyd. But the most odd thing happens when Fatima now smells something interesting and realizes that some of the colony house residents have been trying to use the rotten vegetables for composting. But as she is left alone at the place, she picks up a rotten vegetable and eats it with great pleasure. Boyd went to see Kinney in a state where he was willing to go kill every last one of the monster in the tunnel. Boyd agreed to help him out just as they were about to process with their plan. Boyd informed Kinney that he was with her that night as the monster wanted him to watch their despicable act and told him what her last word was, which was the chant Boyd was reciting when he was found in the barns, which Kinney translated meaning, "He will be alone now." Christy manages to make Tian-Chen look beautiful for her funeral soon after that. Kinney walked in with Boyd to go see his mother. Meanwhile, Tabitha and Victor's dad head down the basement of his house and showed Tabitha all the paintings his wife had drawn, and all this painting looked very familiar to Tabitha. During this narration, we get to see Tian-Chen's funeral taking place as everyone gave their last respect. Victor's father narrates to Tabitha how his wife had also seen those children which she is now seeing. Ellis had a conversation with his father on his well-being and tried to comfort him. Boyd told Ellis that by tomorrow, he is going to catch one of those monsters. Jim Matthews returned home from the funeral and went straight to have some water, but just then, a call came in. He is shocked by this and went to pick the call only for the person at the other end to say, "Dad, this is Thomas." The episode 2 of From Season 3 then came to an end. If you enjoy recap like this, kindly subscribe to get updated on the next episode next week. Goodbye and thanks for watching.